This is the day that we celebrate the saints. For some Episcopal parishes, All Saints' Day is still November 1st, when the official canonized saints who had performed miracles or had visions, those with their own individual saints' days, are remembered, while the more ordinary saints are remembered on November 2nd, All Souls' Day. For others, like our own parish, it has been common to conflate All Saints and All Souls and observe them on the closest Sunday rather than separately. And on this day, we also remember those who are known only to us, friends, family, the loved ones who have moved into the next life and await us there. Our liturgy today reflects the whole cloud of witnesses, doesn't it? We begin with that wonderful processional hymn for all the saints that gives tribute to the saints of old as we process past the stained glass windows that portray some of these, as we stop at the baptismal font and recall others from our Hebrew scriptures and our New Testament. Very soon, we will move to our personal saints, lighting candles and naming those from this community, our own families, and circles of friends. I'm personally glad that we do not stop right there with only those who have already died. Our scriptures tell us that those who follow Jesus, those who are part of the body of Christ, are saints. We have sung this in our opening hymn, that verse that says, "Oh, blessed communion, fellowship, or company divine." And soon we will reaffirm our baptismal covenant where we say, "I believe in the Holy Catholic Church, the communion of saints, the forgiveness of sins, the resurrection of the body, and the life everlasting." The communion of saints, all who are gathered in this place today, all those who have gathered before, whose voices echo from our walls. The older I get, the longer I reflect. I've come to believe that our Christian faith has sometimes emphasized the wrong thing. That heavenly banquet that represents for many the next life, the life after we have gone forth from this earthly life. Now, surely that is something that we may long and hope for. But I do not believe that Isaiah's prophecy, read by Greg this morning, pointed toward life after death, as he described the feast of rich food, of well-aged wines that would be made by God for all peoples. Isaiah was talking to the people in exile, those who had suffered defeat by the powers that removed them from Jerusalem to Babylon. He was assuring them that God would return and would restore the faithful, and that they would live again in community, where they would share that feast. I also do not believe the vision of a new heaven and new earth that came to John of Patmos, that home of God among mortals, it says, where tears and pain will be no more, where all things are made new. I do not believe that that was simply about a life after death. I believe instead that the communion of saints is something that we are meant to work toward, so that what we help God bring about is a new heaven and a new earth. Now, as you might be able to tell by now, my little series, Things That I've Always Wanted to Tell You, might not be something new. In fact, they might be soapboxes I've used often in my years with you, in the pulpit and elsewhere. And today's things that I wanted to tell you has to do with community. Community right here on earth. Community that is here in our nave, but also goes out, goes forth from our doors into the world. A community that is all of those people of faith throughout our world. And that, I believe, is what it's all about. Now today, this cuts very close to the bone. For yesterday, I received a huge booster shot of the Blessed Communion. It was in a memorial service for a friend, mentor, and former colleague of mine. Now, this woman, Barbara, better known as Bobby Taylor, I came to know as a member of the First Congregational Church in Wilmette, where at the time that my family joined there, she was the director of Christian education. She had been an elementary school teacher and mother, and had moved into Christian ed, and later felt the call to ordain ministry, went to the seminary, same one that I did, served that same church, but then several others in the suburban area of Chicago. Now this memorial service took place at Glencoe Union Church, which is the church that she ministered in and then attended as a parishioner after her retirement. I believe that the people of Glencoe might have thought that a dignitary had died. And the people in Wilmette at the Michigan Shores Club would have agreed. The line of visitation to the family went on for 2 hours. We had traffic jams along the lakefront because she had cast her net so wide in the community. The schools her children attended, the church, of course, the wider denomination, countless not-for-profits that she and her husband contributed generously to. And she was a woman of deep faith who acted out that faith in her everyday life. Of course, there were tributes made for her. There were some by her grandchildren and by her children. There was one by another clergy colleague, and then lots of stories told afterwards. But some of the main points, one of them that I believe with all my heart, she was someone who no one could say no to. She asked tough questions that led people to think more deeply and reflect, and also brought people into a closer reflection of who they were meant to be, because lots of those questions had to do with, oh, I think you would be really good as a church school teacher. Or her first invitation to me was to join the planning committee for a women's retreat. Like I said, nobody ever said no, at least no one I know of. One of her daughters described her as having provided a container within which they could grow up and become people of faith themselves. And I think that's an apt description. She was a combination of a very motherly kind of a figure, very gentle. I think that all of her experience with children added to that, but she was also fierce for justice. And one of the questions that she continually asked is, are we doing enough? She was very disturbed by some of the things that were happening in our world in these recent years. I don't bring her up, you didn't know her. It's more hoping that something like this will touch you with people that you remember from your own life who really made a large impact on you and your faith. So the only things more that I'm going to share on that, one is not exactly a quotation because I was listening to it and trying to recall it all at one time. But at the time she was ordained, one of the speakers at her ordination said something to this effect about her scripture. That your scripture, who you are, your actions, and all of that, may be the only scripture that some people will ever see or hear. So it's important that your scriptures speak. The other one was a quotation, actually, from Viktor Frankl, from his book, Man's Search for Meaning, a classic. He said, it did not really matter what we expected from life, but rather what life expected from us. We needed to stop asking about the meaning of life and instead to think of ourselves as those who were being questioned by life daily and hourly. Our answer must consist not in talk and meditation, but in right action and right conduct. Life ultimately means taking the responsibility to find the right answers to its problems and to fulfill the tasks which it constantly sets for each individual. In other words, each individual scripture that speaks of the right action and the right conduct. We all have people that we remember. At times, like memorial services, sometimes we become aware of different dimensions to a person that we thought we knew very well as we hear the stories of other people's experiences with them. I know whenever this happens to me, one thing that goes through my mind is, oh my, what will they say about me? And I always come up short. In a few moments, we will reaffirm our baptismal promises, and then we will light our candles, ring our chimes, remembering those who have gone before. And we will gather at the table, the communion of saints gathered for the communion feast, where we enact that heavenly banquet, or that earthly banquet that awaits us. It's here at the communion table that we have foretaste of that banquet, while in this bread and this cup, the veil between heaven and earth becomes thin, and we share in this feast, where together, in the company of the saints, we encounter our God. We will be fed and blessed, and we will be sent out singing of all the saints of God who meet in church or in trains or in shops or at sea. All the saints of God, and I want to be one too. We sang that yesterday too. That was one of Bobby's favorite hymns, and I think I first heard it because of her. As we reach out our hands for the life-giving bread, allow the blessing to penetrate your very soul. Savor this sacred moment and give thanks that you too, and everyone around you, are the beloved saints of God, and go forth, fed and renewed, to be used by God in the world, to speak your scripture in all that you do. Amen.